friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. It is raining outside. It is actually pretty glorious. I don't usually like the wet weather. I don't mind the wet weather, I should rephrase that. I don't like feeling wet outside. Like I don't like my clothes feeling wet. I don't like going from a wet place into a dry place and then being wet inside that dry place. So I don't like being wet, but I don't mind the rain. I especially love to fall asleep to the rain. So as soon as this video is finished, I'll be back in bed and fully asleep for the rest of the day. No, it's really nice. Steve is probably going to get knocked off work early since it's raining, so I might have to go and pick him up. But I thought I'd just chat to you, say hello. I have already pre-filmed this video. I think sometimes I just do these chats because I'm in the mood to chat, and then I'll put this over a video, and I think I have an idea of which video I'm going to use because I have a few that are just pre-filmed. It's like my backup content when I have everything, because like I'm just really busy right now. I couldn't film a fresh new video for today, even though you will see this video and I could pretend that I did that. It is pre-filmed, so sometimes I just don't know which one it's going to go on, so I won't say anything, but I think I'm going to put this on a video that I did recently where I drew 2 fairies. One of them I was going to ditch the content for because I didn't like the fairy, but I think I will still use it, so I don't know if that's in there. The first one I ditched, but I ended up using it in a journal spread anyway. And then the second one was like my main kind of piece, and they're based off of Cicely Mary Barker's Flower Fairies, if you know anything about that. It's like my whole childhood. It was the coloring books. Every time I referred to my gran and I doing coloring and we'd color the same fairy books, it was those. It was the Cicely Mary Barker Flower Fairies books, which I don't think she did. I think they were made based off of her illustrations. Like someone just did the line work for them, and so that's curious when I think about that years later as an artist, thinking about the copyright of that, but I'm sure they figured it out. But yeah, so she did these really whimsical flower fairies, and she did a whole bunch of fairy stuff, and it's just the most magical thing ever. The ones my gran used to color in, we both used to color in, it was like a whole book of alphabet letters, and the fairies were kind of around them. But I've also done ones without the letters. I kind of had 2. This is back in the day before the adult coloring phase took over, and there were really only a few coloring books you could get, and coloring books that were worth coloring in, because obviously there was a whole bunch for kids, but the paper in those, do you remember that paper that was almost had like a velvet touch to it, and it was very, very thin, like you could just blow on it and it would tear apart. So I didn't like coloring on that paper. It was also like yellow, kind of yellowy brown. It was really, really off-white. I was going to say off-white, but it's like terribly off-white, like a bad off-white. It was yellow. But I didn't like coloring on that because also the colors didn't pop. And when I used the white paper that was a bit more sturdy, and really that paper was just copy paper, but it just was so much better than the kids stuff. I felt like, oh, this is a much better drawing experience for me. And anyway, big colorinera. I used to love coloring in. I still do, really. But I used to enter every coloring competition when I was younger. My gran and I would actually verse each other in coloring competitions. I'd enter under my sister's name and she would enter under my cousin's name. It's too late to dob us in. Don't worry about it. But to be fair, I was pretty good at coloring in when I was younger. So it is feasible that a child could have done that. And it was not a 14-year-old me that was doing it. I tell this story actually a lot because I think one of the last ones we entered was like for a Woolies, like a Woolworths. It's like a grocery supermarket thing. We entered, I think it was an Easter giveaway. I have no idea, but the prize was really good for it. It was like a bigger than typical prize. They had I think it was a Razor scooter, an iPod shuffle or iPod something, like way back in the day when iPod, like the newest iPod was like $400. Do they even sell iPods anymore? No, they must not. Remember that was the thing. Like if you had an iPod with the click wheel that actually clicked. Anyway, so that was back in the day, and my sister, I entered under her name, but because she won, I won. My grandma's very upset about that. I spent 8 hours coloring in that in. Like I really put in the work. I had to take my sister to go and get it, and my sister, how old must she have been? 7 or 8. Literally like 7 years old. Took her to Woolies, and she said, can I have I think she wanted all the prizes, but I think she specifically wanted the scooter and the iPod shuffle. She's like, can I have that? And I said, no, like it's my prize, I won. And she said, if you don't let me have it, I'll tell them that you colored it in, that I didn't do it. So she was literally blackmailing me for the prize. I gave it to her for a half second and then I took it back once we got home. I don't think she cared. She was 7. It's object permanence with that age. Anyway, that was my cute little story that I love to tell that just gives me good memories. I know I've told that story before, but you know what I'm like. I will repeat the same story 55,000 times. Steve starts finishing the stories these days. We've gotten to that point of the marriage where as soon as I start telling a very familiar story, he'll finish it, which is interesting. Don't know if I'm loving that. But anyway, so that's all that. That's the video that I'm going to put it over. That's what the video is about. I just wanted to do a drawing for it. I ended up using this drawing in a spread that I did in Playtest Patreon last week. We started a new series. Sorry, I'm just avoiding my allergies. I didn't even take the pill today, so I'm actually doing pretty well. There was no reason I didn't take it, just lazy. So like I'm not trying anything. I'm starting a new series on Playtest Patreon, which at this point is kind of ridiculous because we're finishing at the end of March, which, shameless plug, join now for $25. You'll have access to that bundled content on Teachable once the month ends. But if you don't join now and you choose to purchase the bundle later, it will be for the price that the whole experience was, which is $75. So save yourself the 50 or don't. I don't mind either way. Just letting you know. The series is called In My Memory, which is just it's like a double-page journaling spread. I've decided these are the rules for that series, the parameters for how I must film it. It's a double-page spread in a journal that is specifically and intentionally about a person, a place, a time, an event, like very something specific. It can be broad too, like the first one I started with was my gran, and so it actually got really, really heavy, and I actually experienced a lot of grief going through it, not gonna lie. So it was very emotional. I tried to refilm the voiceover a million times because I couldn't stop crying, but eventually I was like, you know what, that's real. It's what I'm experiencing, so I put it in there. I still feel a little vulnerable about it, but at the same time, it's like, I am trying those things. Playtest Patreon has always been like a test place for me. So thank you for being a part of that. I know it's so weird to say like, hey, come join the experience so I can test everything on you. But it's a lot of fun. And usually you get more tutorial content out of this than you do most of the other things I do. So I feel like there's, everyone gets what they want out of it at the end of the day. But for me, that's a lot of what I do is I test all these things. Like, do I feel comfortable enough at this point to be a bit more vulnerable? And that's some of the things I've been testing. That episode really did test the boundaries for me because I hate crying like in front of people. And even though there was no one in the room as I was doing it, I was like, I know people are going to watch this and they're going to be, what are they going to say? Like, oh, you're such a crybaby. But at the same time, it's real. It was a very heavy topic. It's one of the things that I've said was a little awkward for me because I generally have a rule where I don't talk about open wounds. I only talk about scars. So I don't share from a place where things are very unresolved so that I could, engage people in that place. Because usually it just gets really hot and heavy for everybody and it's sad. But grief in death is one of those gray areas because what is the scar for that? Like, there's never going to be a point where I don't feel anything about it. So it was a weird, like, do I talk about that? Does that cross all of my own boundaries? I don't know. But anyway, we did it. I actually think it was really nice. It was a nice, new tribute to Gran. I do a lot of tributes to my Gran and everything that she was in my art journaling, and the way that she still pops up in my life now. And so I feel like those are beautiful things to commemorate. I've gotten such a weird, yes, I guess. I've gotten to such a weird sentimental place when I'm older. It's not even weird, but I never expected me to get there. I've always been nostalgic and I've always been a little sentimental, but to the place where like just every seemingly insignificant thing matters to me and like has to be recorded or has to be documented. And there's something in the back of my brain that just is so scared that I might forget everything. And in my family, like, there are a few family members that I would say struggle with memory. I don't think there's anything diagnosed with my family, but they do seem to struggle with memory as they get older. And I don't know if that's genetic and I don't know if that's something that might happen to me, but I really fear losing all of these memories that are so, so special to me. And journaling is kind of like a safety net for me to know that, well, even if my brain fails me, I have a record of it. I have a document of it. And not only that, but I have something really beautiful to look at and something very visually stimulating to look at and something that, I put a lot of care and energy and time into. And that is also, not only a record and a documentation, but it's also a creative expression of myself and who I was at that time. And then another series we do on Patreon over there, the last 5 years, is also an interesting look at like the different snapshots of me at those different times. So I've been loving that. But yeah, like everything for me now, it's like I filter it through the let's journal that, let's get that in there, or is there a creative way to do that, or what, how am I gonna, like, everything has to be documented. I have to document that I made this video today just in case I need to remember that. Not that serious, but yeah, it's interesting that I got to this point because I never expected me to. But then again, if I really did look closely at who I've been this whole time, it's not a leap. It's not a stretch. I've always been sentimental. We have most of the artwork in our house is stuff that either Steve or I created. So either I've drawn it or printed it big, or Steve's taken photography and we got that printed on canvas. But one of the things I think I gave it to him, or I made it for our wedding. It's just a little frame and there are 2 Disney tickets in there. One is the ticket I used to get into the park, and one is the ticket for the viewing. Like, they used to give, remember the fast passes? But the viewing of World of Color, and this was back in 2010, so 13 years ago at this point. I kept those tickets all those years because that was kind of the moment I was like, oh no, I'm in love with this guy and I don't need to be and I can't be, and I'm going on a cruise ship, it's never gonna work. But I just remember keeping it, thinking this would be a really beautiful memory one day, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but at least I can commemorate the crazy whirlwind of a summer where I fell in love with this guy, and boring. But yeah, now they're framed in our house that we've lived in together for years. So I guess it all comes back in some way, shape, or form. Where was I going with all of that? I don't know, just chatting. But we've had a great time on Playtest Patreon. So yeah, join us, or join later, or join never. It's okay. Do whatever you need to do. That's why I'm always here. I'm always here on YouTube Fridays. You get the extra videos like the Collage Club. Also go check out Art Snacks, because I always do Art Snacks videos every month. I put a lot of work into those. Like, they're what I imagine if I paid people to do my filming and editing, what all my other journaling videos would look like. And believe me, I would kind of be interested in doing that, but it just is not feasible. Like, I don't earn enough money from YouTube. I really don't earn much money from YouTube at all, to be honest, but it does pay some bills, so I'm happy for that. Thank you so much. But I don't earn enough to like put the amount of time it would take. Like, I'd have to borrow time from other things that pay my bills, and I just can't do that. So it's sad, but sometimes I feel like I go the extra mile for it, but I just can't do it consistently. And I always feel like, well, it's better to do it just a couple of times than to do it never, but I don't want to do it too often that people are like, get used to it, and then they see the dip in quality when I don't have time to do it. Also, quality is subjective, because I feel like I've seen some very beautifully filmed videos. In fact, a lot of what I've seen on the internet that doesn't please me too much. It's the wrong way to say that. A lot of what I'm not really interested in is beautifully aesthetic videos that are missing something that I connect to. I can appreciate 100% like how beautifully it was filmed, even how beautifully it's edited or color graded, or the music choice. Some of it is just really, really great. But there is something that I need to connect to, and it's usually the person doing all of that. And if I just don't, because it's either all edited out or it's all been cut down into the most, like, I don't know, just like little bits and pieces of like, here's me doing this, and then there's no talking again for 3 minutes, I'm just so tuned out. I need constant talking, I need constant stories, I need people to be laughing, I need all of that. So again, not to take anything away from anyone, but in my head, when I think about the content that I'd create, I always have to kind of filter it through me. Like, would I sit and watch this? Would I sit and listen to this? And a lot of the time I do, sometimes. A lot of the time, obviously, I watch back these videos, but sometimes I go back and watch older videos and just see if it still holds up. Like, did the thing I set out to do 3 years ago, like, do I still think that's enjoyable to me to watch? And I do watch it. I find myself incredibly fascinated. Could you imagine? No, I do enjoy it. I do enjoy watching them because that's what I set out to do. I chat, I tell stories, I can tell the same story a million times and still enjoy it. So honestly, when I'm telling my old stories to me on those videos, I do enjoy listening to them. So anyway, I'm proud of my work. What can I say? But today is this video. I don't have too much other personal news other than Patreon stuff, which we covered. I did Art Journaling the Magic last week. We did our spring retreat. That was really fun. I had a good time at that. I didn't do as much as I felt like I would typically want to do, but I was juggling a lot of other things. So it's like, it's hard. you know, I have to do other things because I have to. And sometimes it's just not enough hours in a day. So it's sad, but I still felt like I had a good time. And when I say as much as I want to, these retreats are 4 days long, and sometimes there are extra parties. But in the past, I've taken a whole golden book journal and filled the entire thing in the week. I think 9 days. I think total I spent on one, which is so ridiculous. No one needs to be doing that. But that when I set aside the time and like all day is my retreat day, because when we used to do them in the park, it would be all day. You'd go there in the morning and you'd be there until night. So you really were just doing it all day and having these great experiences. I would fill these journals. So when I say I didn't do as much, I did like 7 spreads in my journal, which is still not bad. And there's no quota. Like I don't have to hit a certain benchmark, but yeah, sometimes it just feels like, wow, I really did nothing, because that last time I did the spring retreat, I did a whole journal. And that's what I would like to do. I really would, in my fantasy, if I had the time, would just clear my entire day and it would just be stuff like that. I think when we did them online, like during the pandemic at the start, my schedule was a lot slower. I'm not really quite sure how that happened. I don't know. Maybe I just chose it to be that way. I know I can go in different like periods. It's Patreon. I should just level with myself, right? Patreon really does. It requires a lot of extra investment of my time. When I do workshops, what's different is a lot of that is done prior to the workshop starting, and so once it starts, I'm a good buffer ahead. Like I can be 2 weeks ahead in a workshop, and so when I'm actually starting it, it's almost half done. So I really can still take my time. It's intense, but it's only for like 2 weeks. Or 4 weeks max. This has been 3 months. And can I just say, like maybe I'll do another Patreon recap video. I don't think I have as much to say as I said the first time I did that hour-long one. But the truth for me still stands that it is just so unsustainable for me as a creator to go long-term on Patreon. I still love the 2 to 3 months. I would consider 4 months if I had nothing else to do. But it's still good for me to do these shorter kind of like month spans. Than to go long term. I don't know how people do it. And like, there's that part of my head that says, realistically, you're the creator. Like, you can set whatever you want up. But, you know, you really don't know what people are interested in, because it's a long-term subscription to something and it can be quite expensive, like especially if you're paying month after month after month. And you know, what is that value for people? Some people will equate it to like, oh, it's just, you know, a couple cups of coffee. Or then some people will be like, it's more expensive than my Netflix. And you really, I mean, both are true. Both the statements can be true. It's worth it to one, it's not worth it to the other. But for me, again, I'm always like, well, what would I want out of that experience? And this time I felt like when I had been saving a lot for workshops that were a lot more expensive than that was tutorial content. So I was like, let me put a whole bunch of tutorial content into this Patreon. What I was noticing was in my last Patreons, whether there was a less of a desire for people to be collecting lots of printable media. A lot of people didn't have printers, although they didn't feel comfortable using printers. And also because I have Collage Club now, which I didn't have before, people already have access to all that stuff. So they weren't asking for it like they were last time. So I was like, oh, okay, well that seems handled over there. And then I thought, well, videos, people love videos, and people are having, at this point in history, having kind of a desire to go back to a lot more real, raw, kind of like candid, if candid it can really be applied to this situation, a lot less produced and a lot less infomercially. Like, people aren't really enjoying hauls right now because of people's financial situations, or people aren't really enjoying overly curated media because it's just, we're so used to it now. Sometimes we won't suspend disbelief and actually believe, Stephen, I keep laughing about this, we won't believe that you just woke up and the camera was filming. Like, we just won't believe it. Someone was in your room. It was either someone who you don't know was in your room setting up a camera for a candid wake-up shot, or you yourself got out of bed, fixed yourself up, set the camera, metered it, lit it, pressed record, got back into bed, closed your eyes, and then woke up like Sleeping Beauty. Like, we just don't believe that anymore. So thanks, influencers, because we were enjoying that. People also, you know, attention spans are getting shorter. TikTok has really shortened a lot of people's attention spans, mine included. You know, I'm just noticing we're getting to 20 minutes. If I throw in some, no, I won't, because I've been doing 100-day project stuff separately. Don't worry about it. I might find some other clips to put in if this is not enough to fill out my video. I didn't think I'd chat for so long. But yeah, so people aren't enjoying that. So I felt like, let me just chat a lot more. Let me make longer videos so that I can keep people engaged for longer. I can spend a longer time chatting with you. And then again, like testing all the things I was curious about. Series was what I was curious about because I've never committed to series on my YouTube channel except for like a short period of time where I was like, oh, I'm going to do the stamp series, which we did back in 2017, I think. I did the travel journal series, which I'm finishing up the last one of those videos right now. So, and that has been over the span of a year. So that's kind of the first time I've done it. And I don't really know if that's something people have been enjoying. So I thought, let me test out a whole bunch of different series, because maybe it's just travel journaling. Maybe people would enjoy this more. Maybe people would enjoy this more. And then also there were things that were happening that like, you know, I want to share in a way that is not just drawing on the screen anymore, because speed paints are done. Like, we're so done with those. They might come back around, fingers crossed, but we really got done with those years ago on this YouTube space. But I have a 5-year journal, and even though like I've shown some working in it, a lot of that has just already been done, and it's the last year of it. So how do I share that journal here without any showing you doing it? Like, is it enough just for me to talk about it? So that's why we did the last 5 years series. And I thought, yeah, I guess it kind of serves as a podcast-esque video. Like, you can just put it on in the background, hear me chat if that's your thing. It's definitely not Steve's thing. I'm just throwing him under the bus today. I don't know why it's fun. You can just put it on, and I know people enjoy listening to people talk about journals. I enjoy listening to people talk about journals. There are parameters though. You have to be really into it. We can't just be like random acquaintances with the journal. We have to be absolutely obsessed for me to keep my interest. That's the level I'm at right now. But, or you have to be new to it. New, overly obsessed and excited. I love hearing people talk like that about their journals too. The thing I don't like hearing people talk about their journals is when they're like overwhelmed by them. When there's like a lot of, because then I start to adopt their idea about it too. When they're like, I have to get 6 spreads finished by tomorrow. I'm like, I literally gripped my chair. I'm so anxious all of a sudden. Like, yes, we have to get that done. Which no, we don't. I don't have to. All power to them. Fingers crossed. Good luck to you. But I cannot listen to it. It really stresses me out. Which, you know, it happens in content creation because we like to talk about what's going on. And sometimes we do get stressed by not the journaling itself, but like all the work that goes around it. I know specifically around tax time, I can be such a whingy little brat about having to do all my taxes, but you got to do what you got to do. Anyway, oh, my only other news, I'm going to end on this because it's a great note. I have an audition coming up soon for something exciting. I don't really know if I can talk about it, but I mean, it's not secret, but I'll just say I have an audition coming up and I'm really excited for it because it's really the only opportunity I have at the moment to be doing any dancing. I don't expect anything to come of it. Realistically, I think I'm just going to go and have a good time and just enjoy that that's something I can look forward to, because I've been really, really down in the dumps since I've stopped dancing again. I mean, it wouldn't take a genius to figure that out, but I'm really not trying to experience any kind of depression about that. And thanks for last week as well. I know I was a little bit sad on that video, but I am feeling better because I have this to look forward to. I think I found out after I'd made that video last week. And I've realized that I don't need to have the guarantee of dancing. Like, you don't need to be saying, hey, okay, March 22nd, you'll be dancing again, performing. Definitely. I don't need that. I just need something to look forward to. So if there's an audition coming in a month, I can look forward to that. There's an audition coming next week, I can look forward to that. And it doesn't feel like it's finished because there's something in the future that I know is there that I can go and do. So that's fingers crossed that I can just have those moments. If I'm not going to actually have the performing moments, I can just have things like little milestones to look forward to throughout the year. Because I think that definitely shifted my mental space about it. I figured, yes, of course I want it. Like, of course I want to be able to perform, but I guess I don't need it as much as I just need something to look forward to. And I'm going to Zumba tonight too. I'm going to do all my work. I'm going to have my little sleep in the rain. Inside looking at the rain. I'm going to have a beautiful lunch and then go to Zumba because I have a few favorite instructors at Zumba. Zumba is like a whole culture. I don't know if you know this, but especially the Zumba that I go to, and like there's the most men in a Zumba class I've ever had there. Like a lot of the husbands come along and the boyfriends and like just random men turn up, which is so wild to me because that's just not, it's not typical. Not that the Zumba classes I've been to. The ones I see online are like packed full of men, but not that I go there for that. I don't know about you guys, but that's not me. Steve's usually in the, well, he doesn't come to the gym with me much anymore, but I used to see him, like I stand near the door because I have a thing about needing to get out. Not from the class, it's like an old PTSD thing. But I'm always near the door, and so I see Steve like walking around the gym, and I see him like sometimes looking at me, and I'm always nervous he's filming me, and then it's the one song I've just taken off and like taken a rest in, and I think he looks at me and thinks, goodness, he's out of shape. It's my own insecurity there. But I'm much better at it now. Like, honestly, I'm killing it at Zumba right now. I'm loving it. I think doing the parades at Disneyland have given me such incredible stamina for this, these Zumba classes. So I've been nailing it, I feel. But there's a few instructors, and the one that I have on Wednesday morning, if I can make it, and Friday night is like, I swear she does like something before she comes to class. Like, something to give her a lot of energy. It's a lot. Not really, she doesn't look like that. I'm sure it's not a thing, but I have just never seen someone come in with so much energy, and she like brings people to the front of the class throughout as well for certain songs, and I get so excited about that because it's like my little moment to perform. And Zumba is honestly, like the way she does Zumba, it is like being at a club at 1 o'clock in the morning, fully enjoying everything. Like, it is crazy. She just makes it such a party. So I live. But typically on Wednesday mornings I can't make it because I'm taking Steve to work. We share a car. Or on Friday nights I usually have something else. Like, Friday nights used to be Steve and my date nights, but we kind of moved it around a little bit so I could go to Zumba. So then we just do date night whenever. But it's kind of bad. I just didn't realize that was all about me. What a sacrifice he has made for me. No, it really does help. But also, like, I teach Art Journaling the Magic on Friday night, so at least 1 day a month I lose it, or a lot of the other times, a lot of the other times I'm helping Steve, like he'll do photo shoots and stuff, so we kind of share that around that Friday night. But if I can make it, she's one of my favorites. Monday classes are also some of my favorites because I sometimes pull a double and do like back-to-back classes, which can be very exhausting but very fulfilling. I love that feeling of being like so exhausted from a Zumba class because it just, look at me dancing already. I'm like into it. I'm ready. All right, I think I gotta go because I swear I was gonna be on here for 15 minutes and we're approaching 30. That is everything I have to share with you. Fingers crossed because my audition's next Friday. So by the time you see that video, I won't be able to give you like a real-time update about how that went. I'll have pre-filmed something hopefully the day before. Otherwise, this will be the first time I'm late this year. But if I have filmed something, I won't be able to tell you how it went. But fingers crossed, please send me all good thoughts and good energy and whatever you send, nothing physical, but just send all that good stuff because I would really love for it to work out. I really, really would. I'm not gonna be one of those people that is just like, oh, whatever happens, happens. Because like, even though I do believe that, my honest, true feelings are, I would just love for it to work out. And I'm gonna feel that. I'm gonna feel that way about it. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.